Mixture of rain, sleet and snow. Similar across parts of southwest Wales and also maybe southwest England and down the eastern side of England as well. Plenty of showers piling in, and especially around the North York moors, the snow is expected to continue to build up. We could see 15 to maybe 25 centimetres of snow lying in some places. That's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many inland areas, however, staying actually dry, and there will be some sunshine around, particularly towards the west, but for all of us it is going to feel cold. Temperatures still several degrees below average, but the wind's slightly lighter than today. After a very cold night into Friday, it is going to be a bright start for many, just a bit of cloud towards the southeast. However, later on, cloud and rain will push in from the west, and that kind of marks the change that we're going to see in time for the weekend. It is going to be markedly wetter for many of us, but with that, temperatures rising a few degrees as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. It's me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, on State of the Nation tonight.
I think we can say with some confidence that this budget will be very, very good for those who don't want to work and want to live on benefits.
Britain is addicted to benefits, and the Socialists are making it worse, with welfare payments set to increase by 3.8% in next week's budget and tax thresholds frozen. Working people are losing out and paying the bill for a culture that rewards worklessness. It's time for the government to get a grip on Britain's benefits crisis. Also tonight.
Speaker, this is a united team and we are delivering together. Look what we're delivering.
Socialists united. The Prime Minister's days in office are numbered, preparing for a budget disaster, a rebellion on the asylum plan looming, and rumours of a ministerial coup lingering. Keir Starmer is in office, but not in power. As many of you know, I'm very keen on nannies. I think they're the backbone of Britain, and they've done so much to keep the nation on the straight and narrow over the decades and centuries, but I'm not keen on the nanny state. Cold weather season is upon us. Unfortunately, the state is providing invaluable advice. The NHS is telling you to wear gloves and, wonderfully, change your socks if they get wet. Are these nanny statements of the obvious another sign that the state needs to get out of people's lives? And the media landscape is changing. Younger generations are turning to podcasts, YouTube and online platforms for news, discussion and entertainment. Are these new forms of communication replacing traditional media outlets? And if so, why? I'm joined by two podcasters to discuss the changing face of British media. State of the Nation starts now. I'll also be joined by my preternaturally perspicacious panel, the former spokesman for Reform UK, Gawain Tola, and the political consultant and former Labour candidate, Kevin Craig. As always, let me know what you think, mailmog@gbnews.com. But now it's your favourite time of the day, the News Bulletin with Tatiana Sanchez.
Jacob, thank you. The top stories. Kemi Badenoch took aim at the government's budget plans at Prime Minister's questions today. The Conservative leader accused Labour of letting next week's budget unravel before it's even been published, demanding the Prime Minister to rule out freezing income tax thresholds.
This is the first budget to unravel before it's even been delivered. The Chancellor's cluelessness, I'm afraid, is damaging the economy now. The Prime Minister needs to end this shambles. So can he confirm today that he won't break another promise by freezing income tax thresholds?
Sir Keir Starmer argued the Tories have no standing to lecture anyone on tax or living standards after years of economic turbulence.
What we won't do is inflict austerity on the country as they did. Cause huge. What we won't do is inflict a borrowing spree like Liz Truss did. They left waiting lists at record highs. Almost 1 million more children in poverty, and they wrecked our public services. She comes here to talk down the country. We're turning the page.
Elsewhere, serial rapist and former Metropolitan Police officer David Carrick has been found guilty of sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl and a former partner. The 50-year-old, who's already been jailed for life, has been convicted of molesting the girl in the late 1990s and raping the woman during a relationship more than 20 years later. Jurors at the Old Bailey found him guilty of 9 offences. Carrick's already serving a minimum term of 32 years, having admitted 71 offences of sexual violence committed over a 17-year period. Elsewhere, the UK is exploring military options if a Russian spy ship sails closer to British shores after its crew used a laser to target RAF pilots monitoring its progress. Defence Secretary John Healey says the UK is ready to respond if the ship heads south from its current position north of Scotland. The Royal Navy and the RAF are keeping watch on the Yantar, which is designed for gathering intelligence and mapping crucial undersea cables after it entered wider UK waters this month. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper in Berlin for a meeting with her German counterpart said the UK would be vigilant and determined in its response to Vladimir Putin's Russia. Russia denied being interested in British underwater communications, accused the UK of being Russophobic. And the Prince and Princess of Wales have arrived at the Royal Albert Hall to attend their first royal variety performance since Princess Catherine's recovery from cancer. Stepping onto the red carpet at the Royal Albert Hall, William appeared in a classic tuxedo while Catherine wore a green velvet gown. They're watching performances from the cast of Paddington the Musical and pop star Jessie J. The princess says her children were very sad not to attend the show. She added she had to tell them children were not allowed to go. Those are the latest headlines for now. It's over to Jacob.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Welcome back to Save the Nation. Britain is a nation addicted to benefits. We have developed a welfare system that rewards worklessness and punishes hard work, and the government is set to make the problem worse. The latest in a series of leaks ahead of next week's budget has revealed that welfare spending is set to rise by 3.8%, increasing the benefits bill by £6 billion. This comes days after the Daily Telegraph revealed that of the 8 million people living on benefits, 4 million are under no obligation to look for work. DWP data show there are 2.2 million universal credit claimants on long-term sick leave, the majority for mental health reasons. This is a 7-fold increase since the pandemic, which exacerbated the something-for-nothing culture dominating Britain today. Between April and June of this year, nearly 3.4 million people born outside the UK claimed benefits. This includes universal credit, housing benefits, disability allowance, child benefit, pension subsidies and carer allowances. This culture of worklessness is simply not sustainable. OBR figures say Britain's welfare benefit, excluding pensions, in 2024-5 was £137.4 billion. Next year, this is expected to rise to £141.2 billion. What is the effect on working people? Despite news today showing a small decrease in inflation, living costs are still rising. Essential costs, food, energy, utility bills, clothing are rising faster than wages can keep up. Even the left-leaning Resolution Foundation talks of a comfort crunch, particularly lower-income working families who are forced to spend a much higher proportion of their income on essential living costs than ever before, squeezing standards of living for people who work. Citizen Advice data show a significant proportion of people in part-time work are living on a negative budget. Yesterday, Kemi Badenoch moved the Conservative vision back to its traditional goal of sound finances.
Nigel Farage and Zia Yusuf are holding a press conference on how they would save money. But in reality, they want to increase benefits by scrapping the two-child benefit cap. They just don't get it. None of these parties do. Absolutely. The Conservative Party are the only party in this country committed to living within our means.
Meanwhile, Reform's head of policy, Zia Yusuf, announced reform spending plans, which included stripping EU citizens of rights to benefits, which it says will save the taxpayer £20 billion a year.
We've already announced that our belief is UK welfare should be for UK citizens. I think that's an entirely reasonable position. So we are saying we will no longer, the British state should no longer pay universal credit payments to foreign nationals.
Both Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage are taking the right approach to the nation's finances. Those who pay for the benefits will have their income tax threshold frozen again and will face inflation-linked duty increases on alcohol and probably fuel. They're being made worse off while the skivers who live off them are being protected. The left never had a monopoly on fairness, but now it is actively promoting unfairness against those who work in favour of those who idle. As always, let me know what you think. mailmog@gbnews.com. Well, I'm joined now by my preternaturally perspicacious panel, the former spokesman for Reform, Gawain Tola, and the political consultant and former Labour candidate, Kevin Craig. Kevin, let me come to you first, because I really think it is desperately unfair to uprate benefits in line with inflation when the income tax thresholds are not being uprated in line with inflation.
I don't get the sense that you have a lot of compassion for people on benefits sometimes.
I do for people who really need them, but I certainly don't for the people who have no obligation to look for work, aren't looking for work and have made a lifestyle choice.
Yeah, but I think how you characterise it sometimes, you paint a life on benefits as something that one would find desirable.
People do.
How do you know that?
Well, we know it from the figures that people are taking this as a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. I think the figures are that when your party was in government, albeit accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, millions more people have signed on to benefits.
Actually, we got the figures down until COVID. So
well, yeah,
the people who were not economically active of working age went down by over 1 million up until 2019. Since 2019, it's gone right back up again with this culture of thinking the state will pay everything for you.
No, well, your party overall led governments that inflicted a lot of pain on people at the lowest economic end of society. And the difference between a Labour government and a Conservative government... I can't get a word in here, Jacob, due respect as the host, without you chipping in on me. The difference between a Labour government and a Conservative government, and even a Labour government and a Reform government, will be we are tough on cracking down on worklessness. We've had a lot of stick recently for even trying measures like putting advisors in GP surgeries, and people have been throwing a load of criticism at the government for putting advisors in GP surgeries. Well, your own commentators. No, people out there. But the fact is, your characterisation of benefits going up by 3.8% and the fact that the tax bands don't change. Benefits are a safety gap to stop people in real poverty. The tax bans are a different measure for raising the money that we need to fund public services. I don't want to pay more tax than I have to, Jake.
Kevin, hold on a moment. I've now given you a long go. Number of things. Yeah. First of all, the universal credit was a very good way of giving people an incentive to work in Duncan Smith's reform. And secondly, the judgment of poverty that the UK government uses is relative poverty, not absolute poverty. And therefore, when you're not increasing tax thresholds, but you are increasing benefits, that is not having... That's not stopping relative poverty changing if you didn't increase them. Relative poverty would logically remain the same.
Yes, but those on the lowest incomes have to be able to keep up with food cost rises and fuel inflation, whereas they can't get pay rises like people in the workforce, and wages have been going up. And under the Labour government, we've had more wage rises in real terms than we have in the
public sector. But in the private sector, it's hardly above inflation, which means that with the thresholds remaining frozen, you are in real terms worse off.
Let me bring wage applies to both private and public sectors.
Kevin, I think what is interesting on being asked a question about this, your first response is, "You're bad guys, we're good guys. We care, you don't." That's literally how you started.
My characterisation
is... You said you're being mean.
Going, it's just that the whole tone, the intro of this chat, it's not about being mean, it's just I don't detect much... It's a fair point. I don't detect much empathy for who benefits are there to support. None of us support people on benefits who don't want to work, and the Labour government is getting flack for tackling it.
Well, no, I don't think it is. It's not getting flack for tackling it. It's not tackling it.
Well, only from the hard left, from its own
the only flack it's getting is from people on your own side. So that I find quite interesting. However, I was once, many years ago, when I was trying to get into the working ladder, I was homeless for a while, I was starting to work. Initially...
So two of us have been on benefits, and Jacob, a third?
Hold on.
No, I haven't.
Sorry, OK, come on.
I've not been on benefits.
I got into work, and I was on benefits, and I worked a 40-hour week, and I was earning about 10 quid on top of what I would have got as benefits. So to work 40 hours earning a tenner, about 100 quid now. That's how much I was earning for a 40-hour week that I wasn't getting from benefits, because you lose benefits as soon as you start working. You start to lose, and that's the taper and all the rest of it. So when you say nobody chooses to be on benefits as is to work, if you're on the minimum wage, if you're at the lower level, actually, it makes sense to be on benefits rather than work, because you're getting up, you're working, the cost of travel, the cost of transport, all these costs are added on. And so you do all that. You work your socks off just to get over that limit, so you're no longer on the state. And people are earning almost as much as you for doing damn all. How do you feel? And then you discover that their pay goes up, but your pay goes down because your tax rate, in essentially, after inflation, your tax rate goes up. But how's that fair? Well, you talk about being fair. How about fair to the people who work hard?
What we all agree isn't fair is that the people who are on benefits who could be into work. And that's why there's a major plank of government activity designed at tackling, as Jacob said, the 1 in 8 16 to 24-year-olds that we inherited from the Conservatives who are not in work or any training. We all agree that's an issue. What I was just challenging by asking about the lack of empathy, not just tonight, but in the monologue yesterday, is that there are many people who do deserve and need benefits, and that goes up with inflation so that they're not instantly pushed into poverty.
But they wouldn't be pushed into relative poverty, because the relativity doesn't take place when other people's wages aren't going up with line inflation, or they're losing it because more's being taken in tax.
Yes,
so it doesn't... If we were dealing with absolute poverty, your point would be right, but nobody in this country is in absolute poverty. It's only relative poverty.
But there are people who use food banks, Jacob, and things like that, who haven't got enough money to buy their own groceries. That is a real.
The welfare system provides enough money for people to buy groceries.
Do you think then? Do you think that no food banks?
I've no objection to food banks.
If people want to volunteer food into food banks,
that's a great thing. It helps people supplement the benefits that they receive.
A little bit more, and it's not just food. But
our benefit system,
material, it's soap, it's stuff like this. Because guess what? Again, I've been unemployed. There have been times when I've had to use food banks. I understand. I've been there. It's not fun. But you know what I did? I didn't want to be there. I made the effort to get off and get up.
But that's the point I made earlier, that work it's noble to be in work. You can provide for yourself and your family. Most people want to be in work.
But it's no good if you can't afford to be in work because you're paying higher taxes because your thresholds are frozen. To Gawaine's point, it makes it harder.
That moral benefit of being at work is great, but it don't feed you. But it doesn't butter any parsnips.
It butters no parsnips. Thank you very much to my panel. In a moment.
Mr. Speaker, this is a united team and we are delivering together. Look what we're doing.
The Socialists united. The Prime Minister's days in office are numbered, preparing for a budget disaster, a rebellion on the asylum plan looming and rumours of a ministerial coup lingering. Keir Starmer is in office, but not in power.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
That's right. I mean, the rifts can last a lifetime. And that's because the event is so emotional. We see it at funerals and we see it at weddings in particular. That idea that what you've got is a fight for territory, really, a fight for possession. And particularly when one particular child is moving into another family, that can stir up a lot of angst for the parent, for that generation. And things get said and things get seen, slights get perceived, and before you know it, you've got a full-blown crisis. But there have been stories around who gets to go for a hen party, for example. And I think it's very unusual to have an intergenerational hen party. Who wants to have their mother... hen parties...
My mum wasn't at my hen party. She wouldn't want to be.
The thing is, they get quite
drunk.
They get quite lewd. And would you want your future mother-in-law to watch you play some variant of pinning the appendage on whatever? So I think there are reasons why you don't invite everybody. But then who gets the territory? I think if you can be much more magnanimous and accept that it isn't about losing a child but gaining a family, then you can have a very different mindset.
It's interesting, though, because just by raising all of that, there's a lot of focus on saying, well, Adam Peaty has uninvited his mother. But this, whatever the tension, it must be from both sides, presumably.
Yeah. That's right. And nobody will really know what it's about because they themselves will probably not know what it's about. And it may actually be about things historically that are now being brought up into the surface. But we see it at Christmas as well. In the run-up to Christmas, there will be tensions about who gets to go where on the day.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I'm still Jake Rees-Mogg. We were talking about inflation, the economy and welfare, and the mailmogs have come storming in. Oliver says welfare spending keeps soaring while they fail to create jobs, cut taxes or tackle a bureaucracy that traps people into dependence. Labour claims to be the party for working people, but what it really is the party for bureaucrats, big spenders and those who want to keep people dependent on handouts. Couldn't put it better myself. Christine says, tell Kelvin I could take him to a lot of households that are making a living on benefit. Well, Kevin, not Kelvin. Sorry
It's Kelvin.
Kelvin's normally on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Christine, I think you should. And Al says, should Keir Starmer be replaced by a robot to enable a more natural Prime Minister to lead Labour? Well, that's perfect introduction to Section 2. Another day, another setback for the embattled Prime Minister. Following a fortnight of rumoured coup plots, backbench rebellions on flagship asylum plans and budget leaks, more people on the left have called for his resignation. The influential socialist magazine Tribune, whose previous editors include Inorim Bevin and George Orwell, has called for the Prime Minister to go. The former advisor to Tony Blair, John McTernan, has also withdrawn his support. Next week, the budget may be derailed by rebellions. How much more support can the Prime Minister afford to lose before he faces reality? Yeah. Well, I'm joined now by the trade unionist Andy Twelves and, of course, my panel, Kevin Craig and Gwaine Tola. Andy, thank you for coming in.
No, thank you.
Tribune has been one of the most influential splinter groups, ginger groups within the Labour Party for a very long time. Does it still have the influence that it used to have?
I think over the last year and a half, they've struggled a bit. Obviously, yesterday, I think it was, or Monday, they had their first meeting of the overhauled Tribune group. Angela Rayner was there, you know, a backbencher now, former Deputy Prime Minister, and they weren't pleased. I think, obviously, the Tribune magazine is slightly separate to the Tribune group of MPs, but they generally sing from the same hymn sheet. I think, you know, you see a lot in the New Statesman, in the Tribune, in these influential kind of hubs of the intellectual left. They're all kind of counting down, going, really, is this it? After 14 years of opposition, we're a year and a half into government now. We've done some good things, you know, the Employment Rights Bill, Renters' Rights Bill, some of the Pride and Place funding, some good stuff. But fundamentally on the welfare cuts, on the winter fuel allowance, on this cruel migration policy of just taking gold rings off of people, this is not what a Labour government is about. And a lot of them are thinking, the rot is at the centre of government. And I think, you know, to answer the tagline of your question there, is the PM's days numbered? I don't think it should be the Prime Minister that should go. I think it should be Morgan McSweeney. Because fundamentally, if Keir resigns, Shabana Mahmood has, you know, established herself as the favourite. She's the Maurice Glassman calls her the leader of Blue Labour. Morgan McSweeney's a Blue Labour man. If she becomes Prime Minister, he will stay. That is where the rot is. I think Morgan McSweeney has to go.
But Shabana Mahmood surely reduced her chances by the immigration policy, which is very unpopular on the left.
I think certainly within the Parliamentary Labour Party, I think there's been a failure to communicate with them, and the members certainly wouldn't like it. But I think generally outside, she's considered quite hardline, and, you know, Gwaine will love her, I'm sure. You know, there was that whole, is she going to join Reform? You know, with those disillusioned voters, she doesn't go down terribly.
But I'm very interested that Angela Rayner was at the Tribune meeting, because I think it's the Times today reported that Tribune thinks it's got the 80 MPs. Is Angela their favoured candidate?
I mean, obviously they'd have to speak for themselves, but I think she's an extremely strong candidate. I mean, you know, she's what the Labour Party should be about, a working class woman who's worked her way up from a council estate to being the Deputy Prime Minister of this country. She was a union rep, she's looked out for working class people her entire life. I think she is exactly what the Labour Party is about.
Put yourself in the shoes of one of her advisors, because I also think she's very charismatic and she has that following that means she can communicate with people. I remember David Miliband and Michael Portillo, who were leading figures to become leaders of their party. All they had to do was pull the trigger, and they failed. When does she have to pull the trigger if she wants to become leader?
Well, I think there has been so many false starts over the last, you know, year. 18 months is unfair, but over the last year, you know, we saw only last week the whole West-rating melodrama of Willie Won't he. You know, previously you saw the kind of rebellion in the deputy leadership with the non-number 10 candidate winning. I think the Labour Party's only going to have one chance to replace Keir at this Parliament. Otherwise, you lose your democratic mandate, you lose all legitimacy, and then you get into a position like your last government did, where you've gone through 3 prime ministers in one term.
This is very awkward, yes.
Utter rubbish
all right,
that
Kelvin.
we're listening to,
Kevin,
Kelvin.
keep on calling you Kelvin.
All right, Joe, listen. Listen, there's a song by Go West, right, a pop band in the 80s called The King of Wishful Thinking, OK? And you have been listening to that, Jacob. There is not going to be a change of Prime Minister. Tribune are irrelevant. They're irrelevant in the modern Labour Party. They're niche, OK? They had nothing to say. They had nothing to say when Labour had to fight back to power after a historic defeat in 2019. And the reality is, OK, you saw what happened to the Conservatives, right? You get elected to serve this country for a full Parliament, OK? The British people do not take kindly to MPs like Clive Lewis, who obviously thinks he's more important than he is, deciding that they can change Prime Ministers every 5 minutes. Yes, it's been a terrible few weeks in terms of comms for the Labour Party, but there's been a load of progress. The economy is stable. There's billions coming into the country. Working people are getting wage rises. The NHS is getting millions of more appointments. And everything I've heard on this channel tonight has been deluded, OK? Because in the real Parliamentary Labour Party, they know it's suicide to change a Prime Minister so early. And we can talk about it all you want, but the arithmetic is not there. And Tribune, I mean, you know, the name suggests how old it is. It's just not relevant.
So when would you say? May? Do you think that's when it'll go? When
because
the Labour Party, on their current metrics, will get absolutely destroyed. Working class people's lives, when we lose all those councils.
Working class people's lives are being improved by this government.
Do you think that, yeah, but under a reform council, they're only going to get worse. Do you think that's when we think, oh, the Prime Minister has to go?
You do what the Tories did and just start having loads of internal rows.
So when do we have a serious conversation about when we go? We lost 12 councils and 2 mayoralties at the last local
By the way, you
elections.
didn't lose. I suppose you lost to control.
When you know, next May, how many more are we going to lose? When do you say enough is enough?
You have just come on here and called the Home Secretary's immigration announcement this week cruel.
It is cruel.
And that demonstrates what it's
but
not cruel.
People who've come across the channel, you're going to go, oh, you've got 3 rings on your hand, we're going to take 2 of them.
Working class communities...
What is that going to do?
Stop shouting across me, and you've had your big say. You've had a big say, it is.
Well, I did get booked for the second,
it's a big
so I would
say.
like to get my say.
Well, you can't just come on and convey to the listeners and the viewers... No, you can't. I'm just saying you can't. That Tribune's relevant. They're not.
OK, Kevin, you've had your right reply. The key is whether there are these 80 MPs, and the Times is reporting that there are 80 MPs. That then sets the process in train, and once the process starts, it's the members who decide. There's also one other thought for you, Kevin. Yes, we changed leader far too many times.
It didn't work very well, did it?
It did when we changed from Theresa May to Boris Johnson. We then went from our worst election result up until that point in May of 2019 to a victory with an 80-seat majority in December by changing leader.
Without the help of somebody else.
That's true, but the change of leader was essential.
Well, we wouldn't have done it without
That's right.
So he was then pivotal to why you lost, because of his antics in number 10 during COVID.
But sometimes changing your leader leads to an election victory. Likewise, changing from Eden to Macmillan led to an election victory. That's a year or 2 ago.
I have to say, listening to this, it is.
I bet you're having a ball.
It's great. One of the things you mentioned the number 10 media strategy. You're having a pop at Morgan McSweeney. I think I saw some commentator talking about what is the media strategy. Shabana Mahmood says something that's deeply popular in the country at large, maybe not on some of the backbenches, but in the country at large.
Correct.
And the Prime Minister then says, oh no, there's no fight against me, nobody's going to overturn me, and completely destabilise the popular policy statement in the House. I was always taught as a press officer, never advertise bad news. These guys are paying Saatchi and Saatchi. It's extraordinary.
I mean, Andy, to come back to you, it seems to me that once you start talking about a leader's demise, it's purely a matter of time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, once things are spoken into existence by the lobby, by commentators like us, by people in the country. You know,
and by briefings from number 10.
That's exactly it. They were briefing against one of their most successful, if not their most successful, cabinet minister. Is that appropriate for government? Is that a secure number 10?
No,
Kevin,
clearly not.
Well,
and can you govern when you've got this much uncertainty?
Two questions.
Yeah.
I did proactively say that it wasn't a very good few weeks for number 10 comms, and I was alluding to that point. Of course, the government has got a large majority. It has made mistakes, but it's slowly and surely doing a lot of things well. Of course you can govern. Of course this party can govern. And I just think it's all about, actually, it's about individual egos. People have forgotten what a privilege it is to serve. The government and MPs got elected for a 5-year term. And it seems to me that too many MPs are just forgetting what they're there for.
All right, well, I thought it was only fair to allow Kevin the last word. We couldn't allow the rest of us to gang up on him. Anyway, thank you very much to my panel. Coming up in just a moment. As many of you know, I'm very keen on nannies. I think they're the backbone of Britain, and they've done so much to keep the nation on the straight and narrow over the decades and centuries, but I'm not keen on the nanny state. Cold weather season is upon us, and fortunately the state is providing invaluable advice. The NHS is telling you you'd never have guessed to do this for yourself, to wear gloves and change your socks if they get wet. Are these nanny statements of the obvious another sign that the state needs to get out of people's lives?
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
If you're looking to escape the cold weather in the UK, your best bet is Greece, where it will be warmer than average, albeit with some heavy showers. Cold, meanwhile, across Iberia, and that's because the same northerly winds affecting the UK over the next few days will bring colder than average weather to Spain, to Portugal. Just 9 degrees there in Barcelona. A band of rain through the Balearics into Italy, as well as parts of Greece. This actually intensifies during Friday and the weekend, with some very wet weather across Central Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Good evening. It's time for your Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, even if you aren't seeing the snow at the moment, it's staying cold for many of us as we go overnight and into tomorrow. Harsh frost in quite a few places, all because we have Arctic air plunging its way down from the north, leading to temperatures being several degrees below average for the time of year. That northerly wind's also bringing a fair few showers, mainly across northern Scotland, but also down the eastern side of the UK and some western parts, Northern Ireland, Wales, southwest England, seeing some showers. And particularly towards the north, these are going to be readily falling as snow as we go overnight. Otherwise, many places are actually staying quite dry inland. Clear skies allowing temperatures to drop, so frost for many of us, harsh across some parts of Scotland, could get close to negative double figures perhaps. Through the morning, it is going to be a wintry mix across the northern half of Scotland, similar to what we've seen through today really. Snow continuing to build up here, and there could be some icy patches as well. Drier across central southern Scotland, more showers piling in across Northern Ireland, and these will be falling as a mixture of rain, sleet and snow. Similar across parts of southwest Wales and also maybe southwest England, and down the eastern side of England as well. Plenty of showers piling in, and especially around the North York Moors, the snow is expected to continue to build up. We could see 15 to maybe 25 centimetres of snow lying in some places. That's enough to cause some significant disruption. Many inland areas, however, staying actually dry, and there will be some sunshine around, particularly towards the west, but for all of us it is going to feel cold. Temperatures still several degrees below average, but the wind's slightly lighter than today. After a very cold night into Friday, it is going to be a bright start for many, just a bit of cloud towards the southeast. However, later on, cloud and rain will push in from the west, and that kind of marks the change that we're going to see in time for the weekend. It is going to be markedly wetter for many of us, but with that, temperatures rising a few degrees as well. Bye-bye.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, we've just been talking about whether the Prime Minister is on borrowed time, and this is a great interest to the Mail Moggs. Sylvia says, someone must point out that when Boris stood down, Labour and Starmer, more than the rest, demanded that it was grounds for an election. So surely they should stick to their beliefs and call one when he goes.
Great woman.
Bet they don't. Keith says Keir Starmer is leader in name only, rather appropriate as Lino is so last century, like the PM's politics. I've always rather liked Lino, but never mind, I'm rather last century too, if not the one or two before that. Ray says, your two Labour activists fighting like ferrets in a sack shows just how divided Labour is. Yes, it was great fun to see the ferrets at each other. Anyway, while the earth remaineth, seek time and harvest, and cold and heat, and day and night shall not cease. This was God's response to the flood. It was what he said to Noah after the flood, the guarantee that winter will always come. Perhaps the NHS should listen to him rather than issuing the nanning statements of the perfectly obvious as temperatures sink below freezing in many parts of the country and our old friend Jack Frost makes his annual visit. Fortunately, the great British blob is here to provide you with invaluable advice on how to protect yourself from the cold, and that is to wear gloves and socks. Moulton NHS Clinic in Lincolnshire has published guidance saying, no one likes having cold feet, but it's not good for you either. Make sure to always split your infinitives. No, to always wear socks, slippers or shoes around the house, along with pull your sleeves down to trap as much heat as possible. They also advise, and this is wonderful, if your socks and shoes get wet, change them and make sure your gloves aren't too tight. Is the nanny state becoming a parody of itself? Well, let me go to my panel, Gwaine Toler and Kevin Craig. Gwaine, I mean, this is as if the European Union has said it's going to ban the sausage. It's the ridiculous level of self-parody by bossy people.
I think it's not so much that, though it is that. It's more that you've got teams of bureaucrats and press officers and people like that who desperately need something to do all day. And then what shall we do today? It's cold. Maybe the old dears are too thick. Maybe they're too stupid to realise you wear a jumper in the cold. No, best tell them. But I don't think they're trying to be nannying. They're trying to fill their own days.
Kevin, would you, generally speaking, change your socks and shoes if they got wet?
Are you too serious, these questions? I mean, look, I think if we're talking about the Met Office, I think it's really good that they issue a lot of alerts. People change their plans. There are fewer accidents. Good is done. Does anybody sensible necessarily think that all of these messages are best practice? Possibly not.
I'm waiting for a yellow snow warning.
Are you? Well, I think the work of the Met Office and their warnings are really important, especially at this time of year.
I think they give far too many, and therefore people don't take notice of them. That's the thing, I think...
Data shows that people change their plans from Met Office warnings. Fewer accidents, lives saved. And I know it's terribly easy for you chaps to take the mick with bureaucrats, the blob, but there's some public servants doing important work at winter.
Last Saturday morning, last Friday night, I was in the West Wales. I had to drive through Monmouthshire. The fact is there were floods in Monmouth and Abergavenny. I was able to sort out my route because there were flood warnings there, which I did. Yeah. However, no, that's a flood warning. That's thick hoarfrost. That's not wear socks and make sure your gloves aren't too tight. Literally, we aren't that thick. We ain't that stupid.
And isn't it that we're overmanned? That there are too many people filling pointless jobs.
Well,
the state is fundamentally inefficient. That's what it highlights.
I think it's always good to stay on top of inefficiencies in the public sector. But I think sometimes there are also elderly people who don't have great memories and remind us what harm do they do.
If they haven't got great memories, they'll have forgotten the reminder, so it's not going to work. I mean, the people who have dementia aren't going to remember them.
That's very facetious to say that.
But it's true, isn't it?
If you've got more chance of someone remembering to do something if they hear it several times.
Frankly, older people are much better about wearing warm clothes because they grew up in a time when there wasn't automatic central heating and so on. They're more used to dealing with cold weather than the young.
I am less aerated about this story and much more interested in the fact that interest rates are down and the government's doing a lot of good things for this country.
Which nobody else has noticed. They're so mysterious. How do we stop it? Because this goes on under all governments. The Tory government does it, the Labour government does it. It's the out-of-control bureaucracy that wishes to tell us how to lead our lives.
I agree. Look, this isn't massively serious. It gives us all a chuckle about the idiocies of government and the idiocies of petty bureaucracy. But it is make work. We've got to do something with our time. We've got to justify our existence somehow. I know we're going to put out some sort of hectoring advice about, we've got an idea. Do not take your socks off on the ice. because you might stick to it. It's, yeah.
And don't wear leather-soled shoes on the ice because you might slip over.
You would do nothing other.
Well, I wouldn't. That's why I have to walk very carefully.
Please wear galoshes in the rain.
And overshoes and spats.
I've nothing to add to you, to be honest. I'm all done, actually. I think that sometimes you guys in this channel choose. Let's find examples of public sector bad practice to try and make people really angry.
This is silly idiocy.
Agreed. It's one example.
It's yet another example of silly idiocy. But there is a trend of silly idiocy. Yes, we can smile. It's not a serious story. It's the and finally type story. However, the serious point is, it is people justifying their existence by issuing sort of, dear grandmother, here's an egg. Now, if you want to suck it, put a hole at one end. We know.
I think Wayne's right. I think that out of these little things, you see the approach of government, and that government thinks that people need to be told what to do across their lives, whereas I think, philosophically, that people are very good at getting on with their own lives with less government intervention.
Here's an example.
So I want a smaller state that doesn't have time to do this sort of thing.
I actually also, where it's possible, want a smaller state, and the government is doing a lot of work in finding efficiencies. But, for example, the state telling people and using nudge theory, right, in terms of when they file their tax returns, it led to more people filling their tax returns on time and getting fewer fines.
But you've got to be very careful about nudge theory, because they used nudge theory to try and persuade Boris Johnson to wear a mask. Now, it seems to me that when civil servants are using nudge theory to change the behaviour of the Prime Minister, that is the bureaucracy taking over the democratic arm.
Well,
but nudge theory, getting people to pay their tax returns, that's relatively harmless.
Save money. We save money and we help people pay fewer fines to the tax.
Well, they only pay fines because the taxman's introduced the fines. I mean, that's so you behave as we tell you to, and you won't be fined because we've chosen to fine you.
Well, don't you believe in paying your taxes on time?
Yeah, of course I do.
Right then.
Of course I do. But the fines can be unduly aggressive on people who face difficulties. I think you've got to be careful about that.
Yes, but
I'm theoretically, I've got a big issue with the nudge unit anyhow. Some of the things it just, like encouraging people to do things that are sensible. Yes, fine, to a certain extent.
Campaigns to wear seatbelts, don't drink drive, all these things help save lives. That's public information. It's a good thing, right?
Public information is one thing. Nudge can become quite sinister because it's determining or trying to make people behave in a way you think is right, and you may not be right. We now know that the masks were completely pointless, for example.
And expensive.
Anyway, and expensive.
Wow.
Though I had a rather smart old Etonian mask that I got from Newn Lingwood to wear. Anyway, thank you very much to my panel. In a moment, the media landscape is changing. Younger generations are turning to podcasts, YouTube and online platforms for news, discussion and entertainment. Are these new forms of communication replacing traditional media outlets? And if so, why? I'm joined by two podcasters to discuss the changing face of British media.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GBNews, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay. Because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, we were talking about the nanny state and the mailmogs have come in. Mary says it is revealing to note that the nanny state is flourishing while nannies are disappearing whole scale. Maybe they've all got jobs in the Labour Party. Kez says Labour has forgotten that government are custodians of our once great country and not dictators. And Nanny has sent me to a message saying, what do I want for supper? I think cheese and biscuits tonight, please, Nanny. Britain's media landscape is evolving. Traditional outlets such as radio newspapers and linear television are increasingly challenged by the emergence of modern, innovative means of communication, such as YouTube channels and podcasts, particularly with Generation Z. But why are these media becoming so popular? Are podcasts democratising the media, allowing anybody to share their views on a large platform? Or is it simply a technological evolution? And why are they so popular with the younger generations? Well, I'm joined now by the hosts of Conversation Cabinet, Joshua Eames and Ethan Pearman. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
What is it that you think people want to get out of media nowadays that the mainstream media isn't providing?
I think that it's more authentic. I think on podcasts you can say whatever you like, or in any forms of media really, like, such as TikTok or YouTube, as you said. You can say whatever you like at a camera, and you can even pick it up on your iPhone and just record it, and it's out there. And it's so it's much more authentic, and I think people respect that a lot more. Yeah.
And that's something that's important to you in what you're doing. I mean, you interviewed me fairly recently. You've done a number of interviews. What are you trying to get out of those?
Well, I mean, first of all, we aim to remain neutral. We have interviewed everyone from almost all ends of the political spectrum, all political parties, and I think it's all about just trying to get, for us specifically, young people engaged in politics. I think we saw, especially when we were at school, that so many people were incredibly disengaged with politics, and they had really no idea who political leaders were or what they really stood for. So I think us as a podcast, we're really trying to get people engaged in politics.
And is that working? Are people more willing to listen to you when you're saying politics is worth listening to than they are to somebody on the BBC or something?
Mm. I think you have to remember that there's a relatability factor there in the fact that we are Gen Z. So it's more like you're talking to your friend at school rather than watching someone that's quite a big disconnect from, such as with the BBC. So I think that plays a really crucial role, and the fact that it's so accessible makes that even more important.
And it's more conversational, that it's a relatively informal way of having a political conversation.
Well, I think we like to remain informal, but then we also, as we did with you, we like to spark a little bit of debate so people can make their own informed decisions of who they like.
And who are your viewers? Are you getting older people joining in as well, or is it entirely the younger generation?
It's quite a mix, but it's predominantly younger people. Yeah, I'd say about almost half of our viewership is young people. Yeah, and that is the aim of our podcast, is to reach Gen Z.
And what do you yourselves watch? Do you watch other people's podcasts? Are you constantly on YouTube? Do you ever watch mainstream media?
Occasionally. Like, I watch Question Time. I find that quite good. But I got into podcasting because of a podcast. I started off watching The Rest is Politics before I did my politics A-level. And I just found it so accessible because I can listen to it when I'm on the go. And the way it's explained is just very easy to understand when you have maybe a limited knowledge on it.
And this is the thing about podcasting, that it can be set for different levels, so that you can have a podcast for people who know everything about politics, people who are learning about it. But crucially, it's when you want it. Whereas traditionally, you had to sit down at 10 o'clock in the evening to watch the 10 o'clock news, and nobody does that anymore.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important that people are putting out content, and it's clearly received very well by young people. So I think there's almost a responsibility on the people putting content out to be careful of avoiding clickbait as well. It's something we've noticed as well.
Definitely.
How do people avoid clickbait? Because I look at my YouTube channel and most of the things that come up suggested for me have extremely clickbait titles that sometimes I'm gullible enough to watch. How do you try and get over that? And do you think viewers are getting beyond the clickbait stage?
I think that really is a tricky one. I think there is a sense where, there should be an element of trying to get people engaged in your content by maybe being a little bit overseeing what you're originally saying so that people actually view it. But then I think there definitely is a line where we're even seeing it now where people are overstepping the line of what they should be pushing out there, for instance, on like YouTube and stuff like that, where they're not really promoting what they're actually talking about.
Especially when it's a loaded title as well.
Exactly.
And it almost kind of pushes an agenda on you. So I think it's very important to kind of write what it says on the tin, for what you're about to watch, rather than getting people to engage with something with your agenda when that's actually not really what's going on.
I even bought some drain cleaner that I saw an advert for on YouTube. It was completely useless. So anyone watching, don't buy drain cleaner that you've seen on YouTube. And how do you intend to take this further? Because you've got this base of a podcast. Is it going to be the beginnings of a multimedia empire? What do you do next? And what is the pressure on you to increase the video quality? Because anybody can do it, but not anybody can do it well.
I think to answer your first question, we're both going to university soon. So I think we aim to continue doing it at that point, hopefully for a couple more years after that. It's something really exciting. And personally, I just love interviewing politicians. I think being able to communicate with people who have the ability to change things in our country, I think is really important.
Something really quite special about it is we actually learn a lot from just doing it. Obviously, we really do care about engaging other young people and making sure that there is a good form of information that people can receive rather than just this echo chamber that we see online typically. But we ourselves learn loads. My political views have been shaped by doing this, by speaking to such a variety of people, which people don't do enough, I don't think.
And do you think either of you could switch and go into politics, or do you want to be very much focused on being the inquisitor?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I'd love to give it a go. I mean, if people like me, I don't see why not.
Yeah, no, but potentially. I think it's just good to know what's going on. That sense of awareness that is kind of lacking amongst our generation is the main thing.
All right. Well, thank you both very much for coming in. That's Joshua Eames and Ethan Pearman. Well, as you know, regular viewers will know, I've always been a great supporter of London cab drivers, the gondoliers of London. And today I found another reason not to use an Uber. As I arrived here in the Paddington studio earlier, a fellow tapped on the door and said his name was Antoine, or whatever he said his name was, thinking I was his Uber driver. Unfortunately, I had to come and present this programme. Otherwise, I thought it would have been quite jolly to put it into the sat-nav and find out where he wanted to go. I'm not sure whether that would have been legal or how much I could have charged for it, but it would have given me a little bit of experience of what our wonderful London cab drivers have to do. Anyway, I just gave him a rather sort of daft half smile, wondering what on earth he was talking about. And fortunately, his whatever type of car appeared not a proper London taxi, came up. But now, it's somebody who would make a brilliant cab driver, knows all the streets of London and indeed of Calais, the one and only Patrick Christys. Patrick, what's on your programme this evening?
Fantastic, Jacob. Yeah, some very important research has been done exploring the role that the religion of Islam plays in the grooming gang scandal. I don't think it's a topic that's been spoken about enough there, so we're going to explore that. Also, it looks like Sir Keir Starmer's on his last legs. The first Labour MP went over the top today, didn't they, saying that he should go. Apparently they've got 80 others. And what are the Russians playing at? And will we stand up to them? Been shining lasers at RAF pilots, all that and much more.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. It's time for your Met Office weather update for GB News. Now, even if you aren't seeing the snow at the moment, it's staying cold for many of us as we go overnight and into tomorrow. Harsh frost in quite a few places, all because we have Arctic air plunging its way down from the north, leading to temperatures being several degrees below average for the time of year. That northerly wind's also bringing a fair few showers, mainly across northern Scotland, but also down the eastern side of the UK and some western parts, Northern Ireland, Wales, southwest England, seeing some showers. showers, and particularly towards the north, these are going to be readily falling as snow as we go overnight. Otherwise, many places are actually staying quite dry inland. Clear skies allowing temperatures to drop, so frost for many of us, harsh across some parts of Scotland, could get close to negative double figures perhaps. Through the morning, it is going to be a wintry mix across the northern half of Scotland, similar to what we've seen through today really. Snow continuing to build up here, and there could be some icy patches as well. Drier across central southern Scotland, more showers piling in across northern